So, Gore the God Butcher is a being that hates all gods. He's all pasty white, he's bald, and he wants to kill every single god out there, right? So he's Kratos, right? That's basically what we're going for here.
Well,
Hello everybody, how's it going? I am Lazy Dude. Welcome to another review. Today we're reviewing Thor: Love and Thunder. So this is the fourth Thor movie. If you think about it, this is the first out of all the MCU properties to get four movies, main movies besides I guess Avengers, but the only single title to get to four movies. So bravo, bravo. It stars Chris Hemsworth, directed by Taika Waititi, also starring Natalie Portman and Christian Bale. So Thor: Love and Thunder takes place after the events of Endgame. We see Thor, he's gotten a little bit better. He's hanging out with the Guardians of the Galaxy, just doing their thing. He's gotten in shape, he's recovered, he still is suffering from a little bit of stuff. So he's just out there doing his thing, but all of a sudden we got this character played by Christian Bale called Gore the God Butcher, and what he is, he's a man who was a devout believer in a god, and he was let down by that god, and he found out that the god didn't care about him at all, and so he found a magic sword and killed him with it, and now has vowed to kill all gods. So let me just say, I was really looking forward to this movie a lot, just because Taika Waititi, he's one of my favorite new directors that they got going on. Thor Ragnarok is the best out of all the Thor movies. His work on The Mandalorian was great. Jojo Rabbit was my best movie of the year it came out. And I was really looking forward to this, but I gotta say, I was a little let down. I don't know what it is. It's just like all the Marvel properties, with the exception of like Spider-Man No Way Home, I felt a little bit disappointed with. I don't know what it is. And there's a lot of stuff to be good in this movie. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to say that this is a bad movie because it's not. There are some like just pacing issues, and I feel like some story stuff that they just gloss over and go through. But let's talk about some of the good stuff. We got Chris Hemsworth as Thor in this, and at some scenes in this, I will say, I feel like they're playing his Thor a little bit too dim-witted and too goofy. But I do say we get to see a little bit more of the heroic side in some scenes that make it good. There's a whole thing where the kids of Asgard are taken and to be used as bait because Thor has something that the God Butcher wants, and it's handled really well because Thor is able to appear in front of the kids and to astral projection himself to them, but he can't actually touch them. But I love those scenes that they do with that, just because Thor is really calming and he's doing it really well. It's really heroic in the way that he's like just appealing to them, saying, "We'll get you, we'll rescue you, you'll be fine, just stay brave a little while longer, you're doing great, you guys are the real heroes," stuff like that. Those scenes are done really well. The action is really good in this film. There's a few scenes that are really stand out of it. One where they, as you see in the trailer, they meet Zeus. There's the scene where they're fighting Gore the God Butcher. I feel like some of the story elements are just pretty straightforward. I know what's going to happen. I know that Gore's going to get the object that he so desires, and he's going to get in this whole thing. I kind of just wish that movies would take more risks with their plots rather than just being so straightforward, It's like, why can't the bad guy want to get an item and he doesn't get it, or he doesn't get close to it, or they stop him, or that item gets destroyed and flips up the whole plot, I'm looking for a movie to flip these cliched story elements on its head, and I haven't seen a Marvel movie do that for a while. But we also have the added element that we get to see Natalie Portman return to the Thor franchise. She hasn't been in here since Thor: The Dark World, which after that movie, who can blame her for leaving? But we get to see her return, and there's an interesting twist to that, as she is now in possessor of Mjolnir, which was destroyed at the beginning of Thor Ragnarok. We get a good look at what Asgard has become now that it's just a colony on Earth, and that's actually pretty interesting. I like what they do with that, how it's kind of blended within some of the modern world and some of it not. It's like it's become part Asgard and part the human world as the kids are being brought up into it. They're assimilating part of their culture and to the culture that the planet they're born on. That's pretty good. I'm not necessarily sure I like how it's become like a theme park or something, and like the king of it, who is Valkyrie, how she's like doing commercials for Old Spice. That doesn't really feel like it makes sense to me. But I want to talk right now about Christian Bale's performance of Gore the God Butcher, because I think he did a really good job. Gore the God Butcher is a really sympathetic villain. You see where he's coming from. You also see that he's taking things too far in his way. It's like he's gone poisoned with an idea that all gods must die, and he will go to it. He's very determined. There's moments where he's also very creepy, where like he's like having conversations with the kids. There are some moments, I'm just going all over the map here, but I'm just going to keep going with it. There are some moments in that are a little, like, typical, where they're like, Thor will come for us. Oh, I'm counting on it. It's just like, yeah, okay, we like, what is this, flipping Jim Carrey in Batman Forever? I'm counting on it! But overall, I think he's really good. I like the look of him. The battle sequences that they have on that dark planet, that's actually pretty cool. I like that he's able to use shadow monsters. Although I will say they were pretty blah, the shadow monsters. Like, I got that they were kind of spidery and thing, but they were also dark and vague. Like, I had no idea when people were stabbing anything if they were doing real damage. That's kind of the problem when you have a character that has just blah shadow monsters after you. Those scenes don't really feel like they're really like intense at all. At least in the scene where they're fighting the minions of Zeus and stuff like that, I felt like what they were hitting, they were actually hitting and stuff. Whereas like with Gore the God Butcher, when he was doing his stuff like that, it was just like, oh, okay, that was weird. It didn't feel like it had the same impact or the same threat or menace to the characters that we were with. The humor is still Taika Waititi humor, and Chris Hemsworth does it really well. He delivers it well. Now, I want to talk about Natalie Portman as Thor, because they actually do something that I'll get into the spoiler part of the review that I wasn't thinking they were going to do with it, and it made me really interested on what they're going to be doing with this character, because, like, it's happened in a way that I was like, oh, so that's how they're doing it. And it actually makes sense. I like that we actually get to do a flashback and see how Thor's relationship fell apart. Because I feel like it was really sorely handled within, like, the whole Thor Ragnarok. It was like, sorry Jane dumped you. Well, no, I dumped her, actually, blah, blah, blah. It's like, that's kind of a little lazy. I get that you don't have a place for her in this film, but it felt like, yeah, we lost Bo Peep, sort of thing. I think the movie's biggest problem is its pacing, because it starts out with the Guardians of the Galaxy and it ends that really weird, like, it just ends, like he's just like all of a sudden he's looking at all these screens of stuff, then he's like, and just takes off, he's like, oh, I need to go, bye, and then just leaves. And that's handled really awkwardly. There's a scene with, we finally see Sif back again, yay, and then she's gone again, oh, bye. And then that was a little, handled weirdly. I'm surprised that Sif hasn't gotten more of a role in these films, I know you got Valkyrie now, but hey, I mean, 3 women warriors, that wouldn't have been entertaining. I think it would have been work. I think it would have worked. I feel like Sif should have like a Disney Plus, or let's be honest, all the Disney Plus shows so far have sucked. That's a rant for another day. Maybe not all of them. Loki was pretty good, but most of them have sucked. Anyways, let's get back on to the subject at hand. Thor, Love and Thunder. The best thing I can say about this movie is, like, it's predictable, but it's fun. And there are some parts that caught me off guard. There was a part in the climax where I was like, oh, they're doing that. That's actually pretty good. But honestly, it also felt like it was something from a comic book, that they're taking that from a comic book. You know what? I'll just get into the spoiler part right now just so I can be more clear what I'm talking about. So in the end, I'm giving Thor, Love and Thunder a 6 out of 10. It's an above average film. You know what? In terms of the Marvel movies, this is pretty par for the course. There's nothing absolutely that's mind-blowing about anything that's happening here, except for maybe a few of the fight sequences. The villain's really good. The hero stuff is fine, but there's a lot of pacing issues that I think holds the movie back as a whole for me. But it does have some parts that catch me off guard and that I do enjoy. And so overall, I'd say it's an above average movie. It's worth checking out if you're a Marvel fan to keep it going. But you know what? I feel like Marvel might need to... I don't know. It's like I feel like there's too much Marvel stuff out now. You know, it's like you had us getting a nice little drink of Marvel every now and then. Always like we're begging for the next sniff, and now we're drowning. You know, we're like, okay, I don't have time to watch Ms. Marvel and Moon Knight and She-Hulk. All this stuff. There's just too much. But yeah, that's where I feel about my feelings about Thor: Love and Thunder. A few things that I like that I want to go into more detail. I like the whole thing of Jane Foster. She has cancer, and then the hammer heals her, but it's also stopping her from healing as a human. But then again, it's like one of those things where it's like, yeah, but it's level stage 4 cancer. It's like, you know, she's kind of dead either way. Why don't you just keep her having the hammer at all times? I mean, I feel like that's the best way for it. But I also like how it makes sense. I was like, why is she able to hold the hammer? Why is it, like, was she just the most worthy? But no, it's actually when Thor and her were dating, he said to the hammer in a way, in a loving motion, is like, I want you to protect her no matter what. And that actually works because now the hammer has 2 commands. It's like, whosoever be worthy should let this hammer shall, you know, have the power of Thor. But now it's also, and protect Jane Foster no matter what. And if the only way to protect Jane Foster is to give her Thor's powers and allow her to lift up the hammer, then boom, now she can do it. But they also have her die, and that is interesting because I feel like, oh, are we finally doing something with what's the word? Valhalla. Are we finally doing something with Valhalla? Is that actually coming into play in this at all? I don't know. It's kind of interesting because, like, also it kind of doesn't make any sense because Thor literally said to Sif, is like, I will die and go to Valhalla. He's like, actually, Valhalla only happens if you die in the battle. This is after the battle. I'm like, well, Jade kind of died after the battle, and she wasn't killed by a wound by her enemies. She just, like, died of cancer during the battle. That's like if I was fighting in a war and I had a heart attack before we even reached the other side. Would that even technically count? But I do love the whole dynamic of, like, hey, you have this. It can, you know, it can give you great strength, but it's also killing you. Do you use it for the greater good? I like that. There's a lot of stuff with Thor. Thor giving the kids part of his powers and allowing them to all go unleashed on that. I like that. It came across in a natural way. Maybe I kind of wish it was set up a little bit more, but then I say that and I'm like, well, I can predict everything from the beginning of Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness because of one line. So maybe it was good that they didn't set it up more. I thought that was pretty cool. All the kids have like a random thing and they all just start whacking everybody else with like the power of Thor. That was pretty cool. I wish he was kind of weakened because of it. You know, maybe, you know, like he had to put his trust in them, but he didn't seem all that weaker because of it. Heimdall's son is in here. Like, he's okay. He does all right. That, you know, that 5-year gap really allows them to grow a lot of characters up. You know, they just have, well, they weren't snaps. They stayed around. That's pretty cool. That's kind of an interesting side effect that they never really thought of. Now, in the end of this film, we end with, you know, the Gore finally gets to make his wish because he's looking for eternity. I love the way that looked. That visually was very impressive. And he wishes for his daughter to be brought back, and she is. But also, she has the power of this, like, eternity thing, or at least, like, some, like, cosmic power. That's definitely going to come into play with something. I feel like eternity is going to be, like, when they finally do the new Avengers, because I'm guessing that's what they're going to call it, because, you know, it's a title of the comic book, and, you know, you got new characters coming into the Avengers. When they finally do that, I feel like she's going to be what Kang the Conqueror is after, but that's just my mindset of it. Okay, what else do I want to talk about? Natalie Portman back, I think she did okay. I didn't really love Jane in this movie. I liked her well enough, but I didn't like love her as Jane. I was a little confused at the end credits when you see Valhalla and everything and she's there, and then it says Thor will return. I'm like, Wait, which Thor are we talking about here? Are we talking about both, or what? Like, I feel like, why are you setting up Valhalla as a place that we're actually seeing if you're not going to get people to come back from it and fight from there? And I wonder if there's going to be, like, an Avengers thing, because Valhalla is supposed to be, like, where the warriors are waiting there for their chance to come back down and defeat the last great evil, and I thought that was supposed to be Ragnarok, but apparently they didn't come down for that, so maybe there's something else. So who knows? Maybe she will come back. Maybe that will happen. Maybe her death won't stick around. But you know what? I enjoyed her for what she was. I feel like she and Thor kind of got back together a little soon, but then it's kind of like it's one of those things where it's like, well, she's also dying of cancer, so maybe she would just want to go back to it quicker. You know, maybe she doesn't want to waste too much time. So there's that. In the end, I just think I like the dynamic. Actually, you know what I really like? I mean, she didn't get that much screen time, but the kid who plays, I guess, Love is her name. I hope they give her an actual name. I hope her name isn't just Love. That's weird. But the kid who is Gore's daughter, who now has like the power of a god and whatnot, I actually really liked her dynamic with Thor at the end. They had a really fun banter back and forth. I totally would be up for her to be a character that Thor has to work with and train through her newfound powers and like tell her how of different Earth culture and stuff like that. That would be interesting. And they're just going around kicking butt. That's a fun, interesting process thing. I like that. Yeah, it's just a couple of the plots. You know, as soon as you see that, Gore wants Thor's Stormbreaker, well, then that's gonna happen. I kind of liked and then didn't like the whole thing of Stormbreaker being like jealous of Mjolnir, because first it was like as a joke, you know, it was like, oh haha, but it's not really. But then it's like has a mind of its own. It's literally like, hey, you're looking at the hammer like you want it more than me. It's like, okay, you can take it down a little bit. Overall, I enjoyed Thor Love and Thunder. I didn't enjoy it as much, but I would say it's still probably a decent number 2 out of the Thor movies. I mean, I think of maybe the original Thor, but I think that's possibly, I enjoyed that more because superhero movies were more new at the time, you know? But overall, I enjoyed it. I gave it a 6 out of 10, and yeah, that's how I feel about it. So thanks for watching, everybody, and I'll try to get some more reviews out. It won't take as long, but no problem. Alright, bye. Be sure to check out some of these other videos on my channel. And wait for more coming soon. Yes? That's my dear.
You know what? I've never seen you like in person in your getup.
Uh-huh. How's it look? Pretty cool, right?
No.
Thanks, ma'am. What can I help you with?
I need 3 AAA batteries for the smoke detector.
Oh, if we have them, they should be right in there. I look cool, right, guys?